Okay, what a way to wrap up 2024 and set the stage for an even bigger 2025. Speaking of which, Hedera is headed for a huge year. We have a lot of integrations to look forward to, a lot of ecosystem momentum, as well as a lot of new use cases coming live. So in this next fireside, we have two very prominent hash graphers that will be talking to us about what we have to look forward to in terms of integration and what's next for the development of Hedera. So please welcome Greg Scullard and Michael Garber to the stage.
Woohoo! So I saw the previous guys were throwing woolly hats to you guys. We're going to talk about the EVM, and this may fall flat on the non-technicals. We were going to throw hard hats, and Health and Safety said no. So with that, Michael, how about you introduce us?
Thanks, Greg. Yeah, welcome to this EVM ecosystem talk. I hope you guys are enjoying HederaCon. Are you? Right? Yeah? All right, good. Great. I'm Michael Garber. I'm joined by my colleague, Greg Scullard, and we are developer advocates. Today, we're going to talk about what it took for us to go from an unfamiliar place for EVM developers to a space that they can come and build with ease.
So we're going to walk through this journey, and we'll highlight some of the challenges that we faced, and which created insights for opportunity as well. We had some victories, and some challenges, of course, and we're moving forwards into the future of finance, where builders can know that when it comes to building on EVM, there is just no better ledger than Hedera. The Hedera initial EVM was in need of improvements, and this happened with Smart Contracts 2.0. We had an earlier panel who referred to Smart Contracts 2.0 on Hedera being the turning point for them to be able to build on a network. But without an ecosystem, a smart contract service is just an island, and we had to build bridges, no pun intended.
So you've all heard the phrase, I hope, it takes a village, right? It takes a village to raise a child. The same thing is true when you're considering building an EVM ecosystem. If you can imagine the EVM as being the plot of land, like in a village, it's not very interesting by itself to just have this plot of land. You need many things in order to make it interesting, like homes, you need roads, markets, communication networks, and security. The same thing applies to building an EVM ecosystem. It's not enough to just have a fully equivalent base 2 EVM and say, all right, guys, go dev. Because, for instance, you cannot build a lending platform without oracles, or you can't have a cross-chain dApp without bridges. So just like a village needs farmers, blacksmiths, a village square, entryways to that village square, and merchants working together, an EVM needs an ecosystem around it in order to be a place where retail, enterprises, and builders can thrive. So if we think about what EVM developers are used to, they have a certain sandbox that they play in, right? It consists of common tool sets and protocols or key infrastructure pieces. And last year at Hedera, we spent a great deal of time and energy with the world-class engineers, not only establishing EVM equivalents so that the majority of use cases just work, but also developing relationships that are integrated with us that operate as the building blocks or the foundation that EVM developers will use on a daily basis. And these are going to be things like wallet providers and extensions, data indexing providers, issuers, and bridges. No pun intended.
So we selected a number of partners that we wanted to work with, those that were relevant to our ecosystem. Some reached out to us as well, and one by one, they added Hedera integration to their offering with our help.
So if we imagine our village, right, and now we have this EVM is the plot of land, we need a village square. And this is going to be things like your merchants, your bread makers, your wine makers, your cheese makers, things like that. And when we consider infrastructure and tooling, this will be like your RPC nodes, which are like the access points to your village, your village center. And smart contract developing tools that like we have, for instance, Foundry and Hardhat. This is going to make it easier for developers to deploy their contracts. Their time to production will be shortened, and they can write tests with low friction. It will just speed up in development time. And of course, we also support Web3.js and Ethers.js, so it's a very comfortable environment for EVM developers. On the RPC node providers, we have leaders, QuickNode, Linkpool, Validation Cloud. Of course, Chainlist lists these RPC node providers. And on the indexing side, we have the graph. And that's going to make it to where developers and users who want to do complex queries to retrieve that data quickly can do so with the subgraphs. An interesting thing to note about subgraphs, Validation Cloud is dipping their toes into this. And they're also mixing in AI along with it, so users can come and make a prompt of what transaction sets they're interested in, and they'll receive a result based on their prompt and a summary that tells them what happened within their transaction set. And that's going to give more visibility and understanding. And with regards to oracles and bridges, I really love this part because oracles and bridges, if you can imagine our village, right? We have our EVM, that is our plot of land. We have our village square, that is our infrastructure and tooling side. And now it would be interesting to get communication in and out of the network, or have roads that will enable supply to come in and out of the village. If you look at oracles, that is akin to the communication line, because these are data feeds that come from off-chain, and they trigger smart contracts. In the Oracle side, we support two different types of architectures. That is the pull and push type. On the pull side, of course, we have our governing council member, Chainlink. They're an industry standard used by banking conglomerates like Swift, which is a conglomerate of over 11,000 banks. And another interesting thing with the pull oracles is Pith. And I really like Pith because they provide really quick update times to their data feeds, as low as 200 milliseconds. So developers that need to have very quick updates to their data feeds can leverage that. If their use case asks for a push type of oracle, we, of course, support the leading push oracle, Supra. On the bridges side, these are going to be our roads coming into our village. We have leaders Layer 0 and Axelar. They both move messages across chain, but they do it a little bit differently. For instance, Layer 0 relies on relayers to listen to smart contract events and then sign a multi-signature scheme to pass that message to the destination chain. And Axelar also passes messages from a source chain to a destination chain, but they rely on an intermediary chain where verifiers vote on smart contract events that they've seen, and they reach consensus in that way on their intermediary chain before passing it to the destination chain. So just to give you an idea, in January alone, we saw $24 billion coming across over 20 networks on the bridges side. And what's interesting about that number is that a quarter of it was an exodus from slower, more expensive chains, because in the past, retail users that didn't have a lot of money, let's say they had $25, for example, to buy an asset, but the transaction fee is $25, maybe it's $100, they're hoping for a 2x or a 5x just in order to break even, and they're just doing one transaction. But what we're seeing in this exodus is that users are coming to cheaper, faster chains, and they're able to do a whole myriad of DeFi actions like staking, unstaking, different yield strategies, Web3 gaming, and things of that nature. And of course, leading the way on the bridges side was Axelar and Layer 0, which we support. And we think we fit nicely in there on the cheaper, fast chain side because we rely on the Hashgraph consensus algorithm, which in short makes us the most energy efficient blockchain in the entire market. So what that means is very low fixed fees and extremely high throughput. On the Oracle side, in January, over $39 billion was secured in TVL across different DeFi use cases like Web3 gaming and NFTs and in different yield aggregators and things of that sort. And of course, leading the charge there was Pyth, Chainlink, and Supra, which we all support.
So in addition to bridges, oracles, and so on and so forth, smart contract developers need tools to ensure that their smart contracts are safe and secure. So we worked with Slither and Manticore to enable static analysis to be performed rapidly to identify common problems or security issues. And this is a good first step before running a full audit with some of our partners such as Certic and Halburn, who we've worked with closely this year as well. We also worked with Open Zeppelin Defender, or Open Zeppelin's Defender product, which is also integrated with Hedera now. And this is a fairly novel product in that it enables, you can monitor your smart contracts in real time, such that if a particular condition occurs, the smart contract may be paused, or you may receive a message and an alert that something untoward is maybe happening with your protocol. So this is very useful in DeFi and many other protocols. And just in case you didn't know, with all the work that we've done on the EVM this year, the entire library of Open Zeppelin smart contracts was tested on Hedera, so it's all available to you if you're an EVM developer. We've also worked with Elliptic to sort of bring them onto the Hedera network, and they're now added to Chainalysis and TRM Labs for transaction monitoring, which is necessary for compliance. So this is just an example of a static analysis performed on a smart contract. And it's essential smart contracts are safe and secure whenever you have some code on a public network. If it contains bugs, then sometimes you can't fix those bugs. And we've seen many times that it's often too late. So we also brought Wallet Connect into the Hedera ecosystem. And this simplifies the integration of applications with the wallet ecosystem. Prior to Wallet Connect, developers had to choose which of our many native wallets they wanted to support, or they had to support every single one of them, which was a lot of work. And with the EVM more specifically, we had to pay attention to the many libraries that the developers are using, whether that's Ethers.js, Web3.js, or more recently VM. So developing the JSON RPC relay created that much needed bridge, and again, no pun intended, to onboard not only developers and tools, but also their users with support for MetaMask wallet, for example. And then for self-custody of native assets, if you're a retail user, you'll rely on Ledger, Descent, Citadel, which are hardware wallets, or software wallets, such as Hashpack, Blade, and Kabila, and many others. But enterprise and institutions don't use those types of applications or hardware wallets. They require, or they work with custody providers who will hold keys securely and enable workflows to manage transaction signing, transaction approval. So again, this year we've achieved integration with the likes of Copper and Fireblocks, who are essentially, absolutely necessary components of our ecosystem for enterprise adoption. Now, building the world's best EVM and building out the ecosystem for it is one thing, but we wanted to try it for ourselves. So we set out to build applications on our EVM, and two of those applications are Stablecoin Studio and Asset Tokenization Studio. Stablecoin Studio is a breakthrough hybrid architecture which leverages both the smart contract service and a native token service. And we've done the same with Asset Tokenization Studio, which is pure EVM in this case. And Red Swan, who are represented here, were on a panel earlier today, will be using it to tokenize real estate. All of the learnings that we've acquired as developers using our own technology were fed back into our engineering team and as a means to improve the overall solution.
And of course, coming back to our village metaphor, this all starts and ends with you. So thanks for letting us present our update on our EVM ecosystem. And because it starts and it ends with you, we would like to hear from you. So if there's something that you saw that you liked, or it sparked some ideas that you might have for an application, stop by and see us. Talk to us about it. We love to hear about your interests. Anything in the space of AI, we're getting into that as well. But we really wanted to thank you guys for giving us this time to present. And another thank you to our sister organizations. If you're in the crowd, the HBAR Foundation and the Hashgraph Association. You guys played a critical role in developing these relationships, and we want to thank you for that as well. So very, very grateful for our builders, grateful for our sister organizations, and if you would like to follow me on Twitter, my Twitter handle is on the board. So thanks for letting me share.
Thank you. So before we leave, I'm going to ask you for one massive round of applause for Michael. This was his very first public speaking engagement. Oh, so thank you. I think he's done really, really well. Thank you very much.